Good afternoon, family. Thanks for checking out today's video. If you are new here, my name is Jonathan, and I created this channel as a way to record my progress as I work towards my goal of losing 300 pounds. If you'd like to join the family, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below. Also, click on the bell icon so you get alerted when I go live or post new videos. And I'd really appreciate it if you hit the thumbs up on this video or the like button on this video as well. If you'd like to participate on the discussion, you can join me most weekdays where I go live around 4 p.m. Central Time. It's been more like 4:15 Central Time the last few weeks, and it may stay that way. But if you'd like to join the conversation, you can join me on the live streams, or you could consider joining the Discord I created. There's a link for that down in the description below. Also down in the description below is a link to a Pinterest board. A lot of times people ask me what food I'm eating to help me towards my weight loss goals. And that Pinterest board is a great place to see some of the recipes that I've been enjoying. Today is day 898 of my challenge to lose 300 pounds. So far, I've been able to lose 245 pounds using a combination of extended water fasting and a whole food plant-based diet. If anybody has any non-scale victories, I'd love to hear your non-scale victories. If you have any on-scale victories, I love hearing those as well. If you've been struggling with your diet, let us know what's been happening or what's been causing your struggles. If you've been succeeding with your diet, let us know what you're doing to succeed so we can share it with everybody. And at the end of the day, what are some things that you are doing that will make staying on your diet easier than the alternative? Let's go ahead, switch over to the main here. Hello, Rebecca and Rochelle, Our Tiny Acres, Carrie's checking in, Cindy, Tennis and Yoga Girl. Hello, everybody. Thanks for checking out today's broadcast. I hope you had a great weekend. It was beautiful here this weekend. Started to do a little bit of some yard work because the weather was nice and we had some leaves leaves piled up and stuff. So did a little bit of yard work, cleaning up the house. We had a real busy weekend. I know last night Carrie was saying she was looking forward to going back to work because this weekend was so busy between running the kids to birthday parties and soccer practice and scout things and just lots of running around this weekend. But it was beautiful out all weekend. And then yesterday, the weather just plummeted. The temperature just plummeted. Carrie here says that she's wearing a t-shirt today. Oh yes, that's she's wearing a sweatshirt today because it's so cold. But her non-scale victory for today is that she was wearing a sweatshirt that she bought when we were dating. That was before we had the 4 kids, and that was 15 years ago. She bought it when we were traveling, and she was very happy to be wearing it today, and she looked amazing in it. So it was, it was good to see her being able to wear it, and she was very happy for that. Rochelle says you went to see some caves and you brought your own food. That's awesome, right? I imagine that's what you meant to say. It says bought, but I bet you meant brought. That's great. And you were able to get through the experience there. Cindy says that since she had surgery a month ago, you were in maintenance mode for healing purposes. You weighed yourself last Friday and you'd lost 3 pounds. So you're only 20 pounds away from your goal weight. I'm guessing that is what you're saying. That's awesome, Cindy. That's, when I had my surgeries too, you just kind of worry about healing, like that's the big thing to worry about at those times. And, to be able to go through that and come out with a weight loss is awesome. So that's awesome, Cindy. Congratulations. Let's see. Yes, everybody's congratulating Carrie. Yeah, I figured you said you brought, that's what you meant. Yeah, and that's, that's what I figured that, the Rochelle, the food you bring, what kind of food did you bring? And did anybody else bring their own food, or how did it go? I'm curious. And then Cindy, yeah, that's awesome that you're so close to your ideal BMI. I am looking forward to getting that close to my ideal BMI. I'm getting pretty close, and things have been going really well the last couple weeks. I might, I'm hoping to have another good weigh in here this week. I feel like, I don't know, like this just whoosh of weight has come off me in the last 2 weeks, and it feels pretty good. But we'll go ahead and go over the food that I had. I'm now realizing that I need to go over the food that I had all weekend. I didn't get an after picture of the yard work I did, so I'm not going to mess with that. So let me try to see where my photos are going to be from Friday. So let me just run through the food for the weekend real quick. Rochelle, you said you brought grapes, bananas, and a bowl of beans and wild rice. Oh, you went by yourself. That's awesome. So, and it's, I hope it was safe going to caves. I imagine that you wouldn't have done anything unsafe, but that's awesome that you were able to get out, brought your food, got some exercise in, got to see some cool things. I went with my kid. I should take him again. There's a cave, there's some caves just north of where we live here, about 45 minutes north of here, that I have some photos of me and him from then, where I am probably 450 pounds. And I did okay, but I could have, because my son was young enough, I wasn't going to let him go into anything real dangerous anyways. So it gave me an excuse to stay in kind of the main open big areas. But yeah, I'd love to go exploring those caves with him now. And since he's been there actually recently, he'd probably show me things, because his school went there for they do a 6th grade camp out where they go up to those caves and explore them and then camp out up there. So that'd be something we might have to do this summer, is go up and check out the caves. So that's awesome. Let's see. Carrie says, oh, she had dip last night with friends. And people in real, oh yeah. So she had, I think she meant dinner. She had a dinner night with friends last night, and Carrie brought a dip that was this pumpkin spice caramel with dates and pumpkin puree that she brought with, and everybody enjoyed it. So we really like being able to bring food to events and have people enjoy them. And, a lot of them don't realize that they're eating something so healthy. And so let's see. Our Tiny Acre says, you got 3 pounds of black grapes. I almost bought black grapes when I was buying all those grapes. And you had them for all meals yesterday, just eating black grapes all day. Yeah, Cindy says that sounds yummy. Yeah, I could sit there and eat grapes all day. Rochelle says you just sat and ate picnic at a picnic table and you ate your food. That's great. Let's see. Yes. Hello, Gene. I hope you had a great weekend. We are going to go ahead and go over my food here for the weekend. I'm not even sure what I had all weekend. So Friday evening after stream, surprise, surprise, we had potatoes. I feel like, yeah, so I had potatoes and broccoli. Friday night after the stream, to tide me over until I had dinner that I made. I made this myself. I forgot. Yes, Friday night. So after the stream, I went home. I had some potatoes and broccoli because I was hungry. I hadn't eaten much all day. And then I got home. Carrie had some meetings, or she had a thing Friday night that she had to go to. So I made our dinner, which was one of our favorite things, which is the polenta with white beans, mushrooms, and spinach. If you guys are interested in this recipe, that Pinterest link down below. This is on the Pinterest board. This is one of our favorite meals. I screwed it up though, because I don't know how to follow recipes. So the recipe called for, so the recipe that we go off of has olive oil on the recipe, but we don't put the olive oil in there. I was going through and making it, and I got it mixed up, and it said that you needed 1 tablespoon of olive oil in the polenta, and somehow I got mixed up, and I put 3 tablespoons of our vinegar in the polenta. And then once I realized that I put too much vinegar in the polenta, then I cut back on the vinegar in the actual tomato and mushroom mix. So it was not the best version of this we had, but it was edible. So that was dinner Friday evening, and that's what happens when I'm put in charge of cooking. Janet here says that you made the polenta and white bean and it was so yummy. Yeah, we really like it. You know, it's something where you can put pumpkin seeds on it, which is something we haven't been putting on it. I know that's on the recipe. But yeah, you could definitely kind of make it to, you know, the recipe, but change some, you know, we had to change things up by not using the olive oil, of course. But yeah, it's really good. Carrie says that this is the go-to on busy nights. It gets done in when she makes it, it gets done in less than 30 minutes. When I make it, it takes a little bit longer, but that's just because I don't have enough practice with making it. Let me see here. I don't know where my next food photo is here. Okay. So then, yeah, this is Saturday morning, our standard oatmeal. We had a very busy day on Saturday because Carrie had a sale for we had a fundraising event for our nonprofit on Saturday. So we had a very busy day. I actually ate really early on Saturday. I don't normally eat before about 10 a.m. And this past Saturday, I ended up eating at about 7 in the morning, just because I knew I wasn't going to be able to eat for a little while. Then for lunch on Saturday, potatoes and broccoli. Dinner on Saturday was rice and or Spanish rice. So another recipe that is really easy and quick to make. That is probably the theme from this weekend, is we ate a lot of quick and easy things to eat because we were so busy with everything else. Cindy says, Carrie, did you hear that? He needs more practice with cooking. Well, yeah, that's, I probably do need more practice with cooking. So then that was Saturday, and I'm looking here. I don't think I took very many photos on Sunday. So breakfast on Sunday, and then, okay. So I must've come in. Let me look here. Okay. So I'm going to show these photos, because this weekend I've been feeling this kind of whoosh feeling since about 2 weeks ago, and I got rid of the rolled oats that we were eating later at night. I think that helped, and just some changes in my diet. But last week I weighed in at 274.8, I believe it was, or 275 even. Yesterday I had to come into work and do a few things, and I hopped on the scale real quick, and I was really surprised to see that I was 4 pounds down since Wednesday. It doesn't mean I'm going to be 4 pounds down on my way in on Wednesday, but my weight just really is dropped in the last week here. And so I'm hoping to keep that drop and see where it goes. But I was going to show that because I weighed in yesterday, and I was really happy to see I was down 4 pounds in just a few days. And then yesterday evening was leftovers, or this is lunch yesterday, was leftovers of the Spanish rice that we had from Saturday evening. Carrie picked up from the grocery store some corn on the cob. They're just flattening the fields and putting fertilizer on the fields around here. So I don't know where in the world this corn came from, but boy, it was delicious. It had been a while since we had corn on the cob, pretty much since last summer, I imagine. And so it was really nice to get some corn on the cob. So I took a bunch of photos of the corn on the cob because I'm a big fan of corn on the cob. And I never would have believed that corn on the cob could be so delicious without being covered in butter and salt, but I don't do any of that. We just cook the corn on the cob and just eat it. So I took a few, that's not the photo I wanted to show. I took a few different photos of the corn on the cob here. And then, yeah, I just went photo crazy because it looks so pretty, and it was so delicious. Doesn't that look just so amazing? Like, oh, it looks so golden. Oh, and delicious. I want more corn on the cob, man. Okay. But yeah, that was dinner. That was kind of a snack, I guess, before dinner yesterday. And then Carrie had the event, or she had a dinner out with some friends. And so she made this real quick when she got home. But this is a few of the potatoes we had left over cooked. And then there's tomatoes and eggplant in here. This was awesome. I don't even know what the name of this recipe is. If Carrie's watching, maybe she can let me know. But this was awesome. I really liked this dinner last night. The tomato and the eggplant was really good. And so that was dinner last night. Let me see if I missed any questions. See, Carrie says she'll get me some practice in. Yeah, well, if we keep being as busy as we are. What do you attribute the weight loss to? You're on a roll with the weight loss. You know, I think eating things like the rolled oats and those foods, I feel like they might slow down my digestion and maybe allow me to absorb more of the nutrients from the food that I'm eating. Or, you know, because there's, I feel thin, like in my gut right now, if that makes sense. So it's something where I almost wonder if there's just less food in my stomach and in my intestines. But yeah, I think that that's been a big part of it. I think that the seasonal change makes a difference too. I think that our bodies notice those seasonal changes, even if we don't notice that, you know, I mean, you do notice that it's warmer out, things like that. But I think that it would make sense for our bodies to try to hold on to the fat and hold on to the food that we're eating during the winter. And then once the spring comes and you start to see the buds flowering on the trees and you start seeing, you know, life coming back to the world, your body might shed some of those extra pounds because you've gotten through the harsh winter. You've gotten through the winter that you were living in, would be kind of my biggest guess at this point. But yes, I'm very happy with how the weight loss is going. Our Tiny Acre says, you love getting on and seeing it down between times, though. Sometimes it bounces up and down and your brain freaks. Yeah, I think that because I repetitively get on the scale, it doesn't affect me as much. Like I've had a lot of those, the scale went up kind of moments, and had to realize that usually happens right before there's a big scale goes down time. You know, like as long as I'm staying consistent and I'm staying focused towards my goal, it's going to trend in the direction that I want it to trend. I also, like, everybody has a different relationship with the scale. You know, when I was growing up, I wrestled. I was a heavyweight wrestler, so I never really had to worry about hitting the weight limit. But knowing my weight was a part of my life for 6 years, essentially, from the time I was in junior high. Well, I wrestled from the time I was in second grade, so it was always something where I knew my weight, but I didn't really care or try to maintain or manage my weight till junior high. And it was always, my weight is just what my weight is. And I'm always the fattest kid in the room. So it's not going to matter. You know, and so that might've had a little bit of effect on my relationship with weight. I was talking to a friend of mine's dad this weekend that I used to wrestle with his son. Like his son was not, we wrestled on the same team or for the same club. He was not in the same weight class as me. And he was telling me a story. He goes, I remember, he's telling me the story. He remembers when I was in 8th grade that we were at a wrestling tournament and I was eating his popcorn, or he was sharing his popcorn with me. And I was in 8th grade. I was 213 pounds. And he remembered that I was 213 pounds, which is crazy. And the only reason I could think that he would have remembered that is because when you did the little kid wrestling, you'd go weigh in and they would write your weight on your hand in black marker. So, but it was just kind of funny for him, like, to remember what I weighed. But it kind of tracks. I probably was 213 because, you know, I gained a lot of weight in 8th grade to freshman year. Because when I went freshman year wrestling, I was like 275 pounds. So I gained like 60 pounds between 8th grade and freshman year, which wouldn't surprise me at all. I was really fat in my freshman year of high school. Like, yeah. And so, oops, let me fix this here. This went out. So yeah, my relationship with the scale is probably a lot different than other people's relationships with scales. And I don't let it burden me. I don't let it bother me if it goes up, and I get really excited when it goes down. So, and, again, just another dumb wrestling story. I had a wrestling coach that, he yelled at me one time because, I didn't get upset enough when I lost. He said, I don't remember the direct quote now, but he said, when you win, you're the happiest person that I've ever seen on the mat. But when you lose, you just walk off like it doesn't matter. And that's kind of the way I feel like on the scale. Like when I get on the scale and I see it goes down, then yeah, I'm going to jump up and down and celebrate. If it goes up, then I'm not going to waste my energy getting mad at myself. I'm going to try to figure out how I could have done better. I'm going to try to figure out what I could do to be jumping and smiling instead of throwing my gear on the ground and flipping the chessboard and being mad, you know? So, yeah, so that's kind of, Harry says, I like that about you. There you go. Let's see what else we got. Sarasota, Florida says he loves corn. I bet you love potatoes more. Our Tiny Acre says, corn. Yeah, it was delicious corn. I didn't finish going through my food since yesterday. I'll do that real quick here. So that was, dinner on Sunday. Then today, I had broccoli, but I did get on the scale again this morning, and I'll show you guys that real quick because I was really surprised this morning. So, I'm hoping that I hold that weight loss, or I see more come off before tomorrow. I don't know, or Wednesday, but I'm happy with where it's at now. Again, I'm showing you these photos now. Come Wednesday, I could be 273. I don't know, 275 again. I don't understand how it all works, but I'm just trusting in the process. So then this was breakfast, this was pre-breakfast. This is breakfast, oatmeal. And then, that was a bad shot of my potatoes, but then there is my lunch, broccoli and potatoes. So that was dinner, that's food that I've had since you guys last saw me on Friday. So that was, just good amount of foods. I was talking to that friend of mine's dad this weekend. We were talking about diet and exercise, and he's trying to lose weight, and he's seeing a trainer, and he's doing an exercise routine, and he's eating X amount of protein per day. And avoiding carbohydrates and rice and potatoes. And so he was telling me, you know, all the improvements he's had, and he's had some incredible physical improvements that are awesome. But you know, I kind of was like, oh, that's great. You know, and I think that he might've been trying to, you know, kind of sharing his workout, you know, what he's been doing to lose weight, because he sees that I've lost weight. He noticed I'd seen him maybe 6 months ago, and he'd noticed that I lost weight since he had seen me 6 months ago. So, you know, he's talking about everything, all the working out he's doing and all this other stuff. And he kind of finishes with his kind of routine. And I kind of was just like, yeah, I need to start going to the gym. Just kind of to be like, I almost said it to be like, I lost a lot of weight. I didn't have to do all that working that you had to do to lose the weight that you lost. But he gained a lot of strength, which is something that he's, like I said, he's my friend's dad, so he's a little bit older than me. And working on and managing his strength is very important, or maintaining his strength is very important. But yeah, I absolutely took the opportunity to try to kind of let him know how we're eating, how I feel about volume eating. I kind of have this, I'm developing this, you know, sales pitch that, I use when I talk to people, or I have, you know, based off of things they say, I have a response that I feel like might get the most of my message through, or the best, or that maybe might, you know, resonate with them if they care about those things. Let's see. Sarasota says you're having potatoes and bananas again. You're going to have to name it. Is it the, I don't even know. Bantatoes or potatonanas? You're gonna have to come up with a name for that meal. Colleen says you're cooking some corn now. You can't wait for it to be done. Yeah, that corn was so delicious. I was really surprised. I was like, I don't know how many thousands of miles this corn had to travel to get here, but it was worth it. Yeah, it was great. Barb says potatoes and bananas, never considered that. Yes, Sarasota, Florida has been perfecting his potato and banana recipe, or his bantatos. And Sarasota, Florida says dry roasted popcorn. You mix the potatoes and bananas. Oh, and that's what you're calling it, is dry roasted popcorn, or does it taste like dry roasted popcorn? Is that what you're saying? And then you just mix the potatoes with a fork. Yeah. Oh, so yeah, you don't even blend the banana up. It's just like you get chunks of potato, chunks of banana. We were thinking maybe you like blended the banana and like poured it on it like a gravy, but that makes sense if you're just mixing it with a fork. You have roasted popcorn side, like on the side. Oh, you like dry roasted popcorn. I think that has nothing to do with the bananas and potatoes. I think what's going on. Okay. And Carrie's asking, what is dry roasted potato, or what is dry roasted popcorn? Yeah, I don't know what dry roasted popcorn. Barb says banana gravy. Yeah, Carrie says that, yeah, what you're talking about doing, Sarah's, yeah, we weren't sure. We blended it. I would not blend it. Don't eat blended potato. I mean, the blended potato and banana wasn't a full enough recipe, I guess. Like if there was maybe some seasonings mixed in it or something, maybe, because it almost had like a pudding or a yogurt kind of texture. But it just didn't have any real, like, it was very banana-y, what we had. So, yeah, Cindy, I'm so confused too. I don't even know. Gene says you couldn't go there with that mix. You know, it's something where I had to give it a try, or I'm interested in trying, because there's so many things that I've eaten in the last 898 days that, 900 days ago, I would have said I couldn't go with that mix. So I'm willing to give anything a shot at this point, because there's been a lot of times where I've been eating a food like a potato, and like that potato will just have some hint of flavor in it that is not potato, and it just makes me think of a different food. And so sometimes I feel like, it surprised me sometimes what you can mix together and have it come out good. So and everybody has their own taste preferences as well, so it takes time to develop that. And that's another one of those things I was talking to that friend of mine's dad about, was, the neuroadaptation of our taste buds, and, just being willing to go through a period of time where you might not like something, knowing that your body's eventually going to change its mind and eat that food. And I think that it's something where we don't realize how adaptable our bodies are to a new environment. We kind of try to hold on to our old environment all the time. So we don't really, we don't want to make that change, and we don't want to be, because we get worried that the change is going to fail. And, if it fails, what could happen? Okay. So the dry roasted popcorn is just popcorn machine. Yeah, I bought one for like $10 or something. You just throw the popcorn in it, and it's just hot air electric. Okay. So you just call it dry roasted, because you're not putting anything in it like butter or anything when you're popping it. Gene says, digestive wise, you couldn't do that. It would slow you down too much. Yeah, I could see that, happening, I suppose, with that. And that's exactly what I felt with the oats and bananas that we were having in the cobbler. I really felt like that was backing me up. When we would make the cobbler, the mix of that oat and banana that we put on top, and then we cook it, it would be like big balls of like granola, I guess, for lack of a better term. And so I would make sure to spend a lot of time, especially when we had fruits that had a lot of juice, to really mix that up, so I wasn't getting like clumps of oatmeal and banana together, or too many clumps of oatmeal and banana together. So I could see that being an issue with backing you up, or being concerned with backing you up with that. So let me see. Yeah, and I think that, just the title was Low Fat for the Win. I think that was something I listened to lots of different audio for different types of diets, and people, talking about different studies and different things. And I was listening to something this weekend where they were promoting a keto diet, or a low carb diet. And they made a comment about, that we've been told for 40 years to eat low fat. And I don't feel like I've been told that for 40 years. Like for me, for the last 20 years, it's all been about low carb. And the 20 years prior, it might have been more about low fat, but it wasn't showing in my diet. Like I never went on a low fat diet as a kid. I guess that's the other thing, is that prior to 20 years ago, I was a kid. So I was just eating what was ever in front of me. So I wouldn't have really been paying attention in that period from 40 years ago to 20 years ago about what they were saying about low fat and low, versus low carb at that time. But I'm just curious as to what where the influence happened or what caused that influence of change if it was saying low fat for so long, and what was kind of the result of that, in our population, if people were actually listening to it, or if it was just what somebody was saying, but nobody was practicing what they preached. Essentially, they would say eat low fat, but then they're eating cheeseburgers they're packed with fat, or they're eating dairy products that have high fat content in them, or things like that. But I just, for my body, eliminating the fat and getting the fat down as low as possible has really, I feel like, been a key for my weight loss. Since we started doing the Chef AJ reboot in December, the fat content in my diet went way down. And the lower I have the fat in my diet, the lower the fat content in my diet, it seems like the more fat I burn. And I almost wonder if we have like an auxiliary fat storage, or not auxiliary, but like an initial fat storage. Like our organs hold a certain amount of fat in them. And then once they get to a certain point, then we go into a storage mode with that excess fat. And when I used to eat, I was always eating to the point where my organs had the fat that they required, and I had plenty of excess for my body to store. And now that my diet is so low fat that there's not extra fat that can be stored or held on to, or even if my diet's so low fat that if I do need the fat, my body goes into the reserves that I already have. It doesn't need me to eat fat because I have plenty. Like there's no point in me eating fat. Why eat fat? My body doesn't need fat from an external source. I have 50, 60, 70 pounds of fat on my body. So it doesn't make sense that I should need to eat any fat at all. Carrie says that, like that acquaintances that asked her about her dinner last night, she didn't want to push eating. Yeah. So Carrie had a friend of hers that had asked a few questions about our diet and kind of showed some interest. But she didn't want to push eating the way you do on her. But you wanted so badly to share with her that the fat is the enemy for people like them. Yeah. I think that lady, might have been, looking to try to lose some weight and was asking questions about eating this way for weight loss. And Carrie felt like she kind of had a similar body type. And, that's something that, men and women are different in that way, I believe, in some way that, I think that I can get away with eating a little bit of fat and still lose weight. But for Carrie, it really seems like the second she eats a cashew, the second she has anything that has extra fat in it or any oil in it, it just halts her weight loss. And, I listen to Dr. Goldhamer, Alan Goldhamer, talk a lot, and he talks very much that women have a different biological makeup than men. I think he said the last time it's mainly because they can get pregnant. They have the ability to get pregnant, and it is very important to be able to hold on to your fat when you go through an experience like having a child. So that kind of biological difference between men and women also creates a biological difference in our ability to shed weight. And it might also have a difference in the ability to gain the fat. Like in some cases, women might have the ability to gain fat easier than men because it's advantageous for them to be able to gain fat better than men. But I'm not a doctor, and I'm just kind of loosely quoting what I think I remember hearing from some random video. So, Colleen, you said you did the reboot too, the Chef AJ reboot. Did you like it, or had you done it before? And how was it? And Rochelle here says that low fat to a lot of people means high sugar junk food. And that's what I think might have happened in that kind of 20-year period there when I was a kid, is everything got processed. It got turned into these processed foods that had the fat removed, but the sugar added. And that was kind of my diet as a kid, was eating that high sugar diet maybe. And then as I got on my own and I was overweight in high school, but definitely when I got on my own and could make my own food choices, then I only made the food choices that made me the happiest, which is the highest dopamine food, which is the highest calorie count food, which then caused me to get fat. Carrie said that she was reading one of the books that I have down below, is maybe Salt, Sugar, Fat, or Vegan Propaganda. And she was appalled to hear how these companies crank up the sugar and fat to hit that bliss point. Yeah, they talk about that, I know, a lot in Salt, Sugar, Fat. That bliss point, that kind of the point where they're going to get the best response from the most amount of people. And they spend millions of dollars figuring that out. That was something that, all these processed foods that we are, put in front of us, or that we see, there's millions and millions of dollars invested in figuring out how to process that food and how to label it and market it and all these things that we're fighting against, because all we really want to do is just eat food. Like that's what you want at the end of the day, and that's another thing I talked to that friend about was, people talk about having cravings, and I don't have cravings like I used to. And even the times when I do think of foods that are not compliant, I don't give into the craving. And the way I kind of tried to explain it was that, I've heard the saying for years, with plumbing, there's a saying that it's the drip isn't where the leak is. And so like, if you go under your sink and you see a pipe dripping, the leak isn't where the pipe is dripping at. That is just the lowest point in the pipe. You have to follow the pipe to find out where the drip is. And I feel like us craving food is that same thing. You crave a food, and in your head, you start thinking about donuts, let's say. And you can't get donuts out of your head. And so that's what you end up going to, is that junk food, because you keep thinking about donuts. But what you have to realize is that the drip isn't where the leak is. The fact that you're thinking about donuts, it's not that you want donuts, it's that you're hungry. You just want food. But your brain is wired to go to the most rewarding food possible. Like that's why wouldn't it be? If we lived 20,000 years ago, our brain's main focus would be to get the most rewarding food possible. We don't live in that environment now. We're surrounded by that most rewarding food. And so when you're craving, your brain naturally goes to, when you're hungry, your brain naturally goes to the most rewarding food possible. It doesn't mean you have to eat the most rewarding food possible. It just means you have to eat. And that's what I do. If I started to crave Ezekiel bread and nut butter, that would be my indulgent food, that I know that it's not Ezekiel bread and nut butter that I necessarily want. It's just that I want to eat food. And if I don't have Ezekiel bread and nut butter in my house, I don't even think about that, so it's I've trained my mind essentially over this 900 days to go to the sources of food I want it to go to. If I get hungry, I'll go to the pantry and I'll just eat some oranges. I'll eat an apple or I'll eat a banana. I'll cook some potatoes in the Instapot. I'll throw a bag of broccoli in the microwave. None of that sounds as wonderful as a donut, but it's satisfying that same craving, because the craving is just hunger. It's not the physical, the mental image of that craving you're having isn't what you have to eat to satisfy your hunger cravings. So yeah. Let's see. Colin says that Goldhamer says women have to get over that we have the fat on our bodies and that we lose it slower than men in his dry humor. Yeah. You just have to get over the fact that it's going to take you longer, to do it. And Carrie says, yeah, it's pretty frustrating. And I imagine it can be. I remember seeing it firsthand, and where I saw it firsthand, other than kind of me and Carrie kind of doing the same thing at the same time and me losing weight faster. But when I was younger, trying to find ways to lose weight, I would go to Weight Watchers. And Weight Watchers was a very kind of public, you come in, you weigh in. If you had a loss, they announce it. If you hit a goal, they announce it. And I think the multiple times that I went to Weight Watchers, I was going from eating a horrible junk food diet to now eating this calorie restrictive, unsustainable diet, but I would lose massive amounts of weight, and so I would go in, I'd weigh in the first day, and then I'd come back a week and I'd have lost 10 or 12 pounds or whatever. And I could see the frustration in all of the women in the room that I would have 2 to 4 pound weight losses week after week. And they're sitting there kind of nearly starving themselves and only losing tenths of pounds a week. So, it's definitely there, but the solution's the same for both of us, both men and women, is to just eat a healthier diet, a less processed diet, and a diet that is more closer to what we would have eaten, in our environment. I really think we would have eaten the plant food around us, like why would you run past an apple tree to go kill a squirrel or a raccoon or a rabbit when you have all those calories in that apple tree that you can see with your eyes, that can see the color differences in them and stuff like that. See Jean talking about the salt, sugar, fat thing we were talking about, where the companies crank up the sugar. She says that that's an actual job. The biofood engineers, they make food more desirable and hit that dopamine just right. So you want to more satisfy that tickle. Yeah. That's their job. That's what Clark Griswold was, right? In Christmas Vacation, he was a biofood engineer, I believe. And I know he had like a cornflake that they had a chemical that they were putting it in that wouldn't let the milk soak in. I believe we used to watch that movie a lot. That's the only reason why I remember that. But yeah, absolutely. There's thousands and thousands of dollars. And we applaud these companies for being so innovative, for finding out this cheat code in the human mind. You found out that if you made your building colors that color of red, your logo colors that color of red and that color of yellow, that it'll invoke hunger in people. It'll invoke certain emotions in people to get them to come to your restaurant or come to your store. And we applaud those people that figured that out as geniuses, but then the companies take that information and they use it for nefarious reasons, right? It's almost like a superhero movie or something where the, somebody's trying to develop this thing that's going to save the world. But if the bad guys get their hands on it, they're going to kill everybody. Well, that's what happened with these color chart things and these behavioral studies that have happened, is that they do the studies and they try to figure these things out so that we can unlock parts of our essence. We can understand more about humans, and then people take that information and they use it for their own profit and their own gain. And so it's something where it's very frustrating that we have to fight that. And we don't get to team up to fight that. So we're, that company, even though they're sending that message out to millions of people, all of the money that they've invested in learning about human response and things like that, that hits you as an individual. So the company spends $1 billion to figure out how to get you to come and buy their food. And so then you see that advertisement, you see the product, you're getting hit with tens of millions of dollars worth of influence, tens of millions of dollars worth of information. And you don't have anybody there helping you block that information or see filter through it. And for me, it's really taken a long time for me to create my own filter in my own mind. The first thing I remember doing is just when driving down the road after I started this diet and I was fasting and I was hungry and things like that, I would be driving by these fast food restaurants and they would have these big white billows of smoke coming out of the top, and there'd be the smell of the food. And mentally, I just had to start kind of thinking of that white billowing as green poison. Like they're just emitting toxins into the air. And that is also a money-making thing. They want the smell of their food to be emanating throughout the neighborhood that they're in, so that it's somebody's walking by or somebody's driving by and they catch a hint of that flame grilled burger, that they'll make the turn and they'll grab themselves a crown, or grab themselves a king size meal. So, Pretty Girl's mom, hey guys, coming in late. No worries, Pretty Girl's mom. I hope you had a great weekend. Carrie here says that no one is looking out for our best interest. It is all about profits. You're so thankful that we have found this way of eating. You're not a customer of any of those customers anymore. Yeah, that's the other thing that I've talked about a lot too, is that it's about profits. It's about making money. If those biofood engineers come to the CEO of the company and they say, if we make this change to the food, it is going to give us a 10% increase in sales. But by doing that, we put a larger percentage of our customers at risk for health complications down the line. So let's say it's a soda drink company and they are competing with somebody else, and the food engineer comes in and says, hey, we're putting 12 grams of sugar in our food. Our competitors are putting 14 grams of sugar. I think we should put 16 grams of sugar in it. If we put 16 grams of sugar in, we're going to get some of that market share back. It's going to hurt our customers, but it's going to increase our bottom line. It's going to make the shareholders more money if you increase the sugar content. Even though it's going to hurt the customers, it makes the shareholders more money. If the CEO chooses to side with the customer and say, no, we're going to keep our food at 12, or our drink at 12 12 grams. We'll try to mark it. We'll try to do something else. If he doesn't go with that, if he goes with the customer, he can be fired from his job because he wasn't looking out for the shareholders. That is the definition of his job, is to look out for the shareholders. And so they have to choose the less healthy option if they want to keep their job. And so that is the dilemma that these guys at these top, these corporations are kind of put in, is that they can't make the decision to help the customer if it hurts the company, because then they lose their job. And so, yes, it's all about profits. Let's see. Colin said something about, I lost my mouse here. It may not sound as good as a donut, but you'll sure feel better eating something else. Yes, that when you have that craving, it doesn't sound as good as a donut, but you're going to scratch that itch and you're going to feel better after the fact. Because, yeah, you're going to, it's something that I haven't felt dragged down by my food in months and months and months. Like, there was somebody who was talking about, I feel that the other day, that they, ate healthier food at a public event, and they were wanting to keep kind of being active, and everybody else was, I'm sure it was somebody on stream here talking about doing an egg hunt. So let's see here. Cindy says that when you're hungry, you watch food reels on Instagram of any and all foods. You wouldn't eat any of it, though. You're just weird. You like to see it. I absolutely do the same thing. I watch people eat food all the time. It's something that I really started doing while I was water fasting, and I believe that it really helped me get through my water fast, watching people eat food. There's just something psychological about it that, just the act of seeing somebody creates some form of satiety within your mind. So I absolutely understand watching Instagram reels of foods just to kind of pass the time and keep yourself from eating any junk foods. Let's see. Cindy says, you majored in food science and nutrition and lasted 1 year before transferring to the nursing program. It is a thing to create frankenfoods. Yeah, I mean, that's the salt, sugar, fat. The example they give in that is Jell-O making the instant pudding. That instant pudding was not possible before they added chemicals to the food. They tried and they tried to find a way to make pudding faster without using chemicals, and they couldn't. And so once one of the competitors of Jell-O submitted a patent that used chemicals to make pudding in half an hour, Jell-O went to their food engineers and said, hey, you guys can do whatever you need to do. We need pudding quicker than a half hour, or else we're going to lose our share. We're going to lose the market. And so they came back right away and said, yeah, we can do it in 20 minutes. And so they issued a patent saying that they had an instant pudding that could be made in 20 minutes. And the competition that had submitted the patent prior to them never made the product because Jell-O was such a big company that they couldn't compete with it. So that was from Salt, Sugar, Fat, if you wanted to know more about that. Let's see. Colleen says, you had a question into Dr. Lisle about fast food. Now, what's in your head as a drive by one of those establishments? It's not, or now what happens in your head when you drive by one of those establishments is it's not food, and that's been helping you. Yeah, it really, you have to start looking at that stuff as not food. Like that's, yeah, that's bottom line. Like it's just, it's hard to do, but with any habit, the further you get away from it, the easier it gets to do. You know, like me not eating meat, I haven't had meat in 898 days. I have no problem with that. And me not having dairy, I haven't had it in 898 days. I have no problem. But at day 50, I was sitting there going, I don't have any problem with no meat. I kind of wish I had dairy, you know? And so it was something where I was able to get over the meat really quick. Took me longer to get over the dairy. It's taken me longer to get over the salt and the sugar. Oil, I got over real quick too. Like, yeah, like the oil, but the salt and the sugar, those definitely were tougher for me to give up. You know, the added salt and sugar. There's some amount of salt and sugar in the food I eat, but the added. So yeah, you know, a lot of that stuff's not food. You know, the stuff in the candy aisle, it's not food. The stuff in the chip aisles is not food. Really, the stuff outside of the produce department is not food. And so, you know, there are some, you know, things that are boxed and things, but for the most part. And then Rochelle said, you put food in your car so you wouldn't be tempted to stop along the way. Absolutely. Get some pocket potatoes in your purse. Whatever you got to do to have that food available so that when you're driving by those places, you don't have, and again, you drive by the place, your mind says, hey, I'm hungry, we should eat there. You have to rewire your mind. You have to understand that craving for that food is not, you're just hungry. You're not actually, you know, that food is not a necessity to satisfy your life. You're just hungry. Just eat some food that's compliant. Eat some food that's healthy. Yeah, Barb, let's see. Dr. Lisle comes on to Chef AJ's Feel Fabulous Over 40, and that's where you had asked him the question. It was a longer question, and he spent over 20 minutes answering it. That's great. You know, I really like that whole, you know, this whole group. I really like the whole community of doctors that are on YouTube and that are answering these questions. Chef AJ's been great for me personally. I mean, she helped me out a lot with by having me on her show and doing the interviews. But Dr. Lisle, by far one of my favorites. You know, Alan Goldhamer, I like him too. You know, he's got his kind of no nonsenseness about it, which was really, when I was in college, the professors I had that were like Goldhamer were my favorite professors. You know, it was just something where, yeah, it just seemed, I don't know. I just liked him more. Like, I felt like they gave me a reason to try to work harder. I don't know a better way to explain it, but yeah, it just really the whole, yeah, it's just, it's a different feel. Like, it doesn't feel like, I'm being taken for my money. You know, it's not all about profits. It's not about, it seems like it's a lot more about health. And so I really enjoy it. But I should probably get going. We got a busy night tonight. Colin says, you found out about me through Chef AJ's live show. You're there almost every day. Yeah, you know, that's great. Like I said, the community is great. The people are awesome. And the willingness to share their time, you know, like Chef AJ shares a lot of her time with people, and the people that are benefiting from her time aren't necessarily spending money with it. You know, you can sit there and you can watch Chef AJ for free every day. You just got to, you know, maybe watch a couple commercials, and that's all you have to pay. So that's awesome. So yeah, I am going to get out of here. Got a lot to do tonight. Tomorrow is Tuesday. I plan on going live tomorrow. I got weigh-in Wednesday, on Wednesday, and it just, we're getting into the busy season with work. So I intend to continue with my schedule. I'm going to probably start doing my live streams at 4:15, or you can probably more count on me going live at 4:15 going forward versus 4 p.m. Colleen says you've learned so much from Chef AJ. Yeah, it's really the reason why I reached out to Chef AJ about doing an interview was because she put the Pleasure Trap on audiobook. And if she would not have done that, if she wouldn't, because I'm almost positive she had to take the initiative to make that happen. I don't know that I find this. I don't know that I take the effort to read the Pleasure Trap, in paperback. And so, yeah, I really owe a lot of my success to Chef AJ and what she's done for spreading the message about eating a plant-based diet. And so, yeah. But yeah, I'm going to get out of here. Thank you guys all for the support. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, make sure you get subscribed to the channel. If you haven't clicked on the bell icon, click on the bell icon so you get alerted when I go live or post new videos. If you haven't hit the thumbs up button on the video, hit the thumbs up button. I'd really appreciate it, especially if you're still here an hour and 6 minutes in. If you have not started your diet yet, what are you waiting for? There's nothing coming up that's more important than your health or your overall well-being. There's nobody that gets to their goals, looks back and says, I wish I would have waited. Everybody who gets to their goals looks back and says, what was I thinking? I lost all those years. I could have been feeling so much younger, so much healthier, so much better for all those years. So they all regret not starting sooner. So get started now, guys. I will talk to you tomorrow.